Wow. Oh man. Wow. Well, DC, Warner Brothers, you guys are now officially 1-3 because wow, this was pretty damn good. Yeah. So finally, I got to see Wonder Woman, and I gotta be honest, I was very hesitant about this movie, not just because of all that was writing on it. If this movie tanked, then I'm pretty sure a lot of the other then Justice League would have some problems and a few other things. So in the movies from then on, that's why we've been kind of getting less and less from Justice League and everything else. I think DC's been kind of waiting to DC and Warner Brothers have been kind of waiting to see what the reception is for this film, and yeah, it was worth it. And also, the other thing of why I was kind of hesitant was that all these great reviews. And I was like, man, is it overhyped? Is it going to be overhyped? Am I not going to like it because there was so much praise for it? But no, I can honestly say the hype is real. This was a really good film. But having said that, I do have some thoughts. Hold on, whoa! Put the torches and pitchforks down. Let me say right out the gate that I love this movie, but at the same time, especially in the third act, it kind of falls into some pitfalls of not just DC films, but Marvel films as well. And if you've seen the movie, then you probably know what I'm talking about. But honestly, right out the gate, everything else, excluding the big finale with the third act, and it is typical at this point and cliche with most superhero movies, not just DC, like I said, but also with Marvel. I think the cast was amazing. Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot. I don't know. Gal Gadot, she was fantastic as Diana. Chris Pine knocked it out of the park as Steve Trevor. I like Steve Trevor, that he was funny, but at the same time he knew when to switch it off. This is a character that could have easily been annoying. Thankfully, he switched it off. And going back to Gal Gadot, she is spectacular, like I said, as Diana. It's a very much fish out of water story in that this film is her learning about the world of men in the final days of World War One, and it's not pretty. If you guys know your history, World War One was not pretty. Well, then again, World War Two wasn't any better, but still, this was a pretty nasty war. As with all wars, as Greg Universe said from Steven Universe, no such thing as a good war. And trust me, that was the point here. And yeah, Diana is naive, but at the same time she's not stupid. They really could have gone, oh, what is this? And how does this work? They could have easily done that, but thankfully she's naive, but in the sense that she knows what's right and wrong, and she's very optimistic. And I was like, optimism in a DC movie. Thank you. I was literally like, oh my god, there's optimism and hope in this film. It's beautiful, and Gal Gadot once again as Wonder Woman is just awesome in here. Also, quick shout out to Danny Houston because he's one of my favorite actors, and I'm always happy to see him in a big budget film because I've been seeing him in a lot of low budget films and TV films. I was like, oh, I wish he got to do more. And granted, he doesn't get to do a lot here. He's just generic German villain number 15, aka Limendorf. Lumen. I'm gonna butcher that fucking name. Lunan. Oh, I am so sorry, guys. I am just gonna butcher that name. But he plays the general. I can't pronounce the name, but yeah, he plays the general. We have Doctor Poison in here and Ares, which I'll get to in a moment when I get to the spoiler stuff. But if you want to know my thoughts, yeah, this was good. Am I still interested in Justice League? My expectations are still kind of low, and just because of how well BVS went, and this was a totally different direction. So, but yeah, it's a little raised. But now it's kind of you're still 1-3, DC. Let's not make it 1-4. All right, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, so yeah, from here on out, I'm just going to be doing some spoilers. So, just like I said, this movie was fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. It knew when to be hopeful. It knew when to stop the comedy. It knew when to be funny and when not to be. Thank God, because even some Marvel movies, and I've talked about this in Doctor Strange, and even it suffered a little bit in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but sometimes they don't, even in Marvel kind of has, but still, they're still good Marvel films. But still, I feel like Marvel sometimes doesn't. It sometimes crosses the line with the comedy. You know, it kind of crosses the line with comedy here and there. But still, good films all around. But this new win to not joke time. This is now this is now punching time and serious time. Anyway. So yeah, so from here on out, I just can't talk tonight. From here on out, this is going to be just a spoiler review, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I'm going to give you guys a few seconds to back out. Okay, so if you want to be spoiled, or you've already seen the movie, then let's talk about it. So, right out the gate, let me talk about the third act, in that we reveal of, the whole reveal of Ares. Once again, and this was the same thing with Doomsday, this was the same thing we've seen in multiple superhero films, both Marvel and DC, is that we have this big action-packed finale, and we don't really feel a lot because we haven't really developed a lot of the villains. Not to say there's been undeveloped villains in comic books. I mean, we've got Ultron, we've got Loki, we've got Ego. Well, Ego I would rank in there. But maybe that's more of Kurt Russell's performance, but still, I think Ego has been one of the better villains of the MCU recently, not counting, of course, the Netflix shows, because that would go straight to Kingpin. But yeah, it's kind of a thing that has been going on in comic book films where we just get villains just to, and there is some cool stuff they do with Ares in that, they throw you for a loop and find out he's a ambassador in Britain, or is a lord or some sort. But yeah, he's trying to propagate peace, and we find out a bit more about Ares in this story. And I do like how in the opening of this film, we get to see like the George Perez Ares costume, and we get to see a little bit of it in here. But what was interesting is that they kind of take the concept of the new, a little bit, not all, just a little bit of the concept of Ares from the New 52, like Brian Azzarello Ares, and mix it a bit with the George Perez Ares. So that was kind of an interesting way, and I like how, he's not real, he's kind of like, I'm the god of inspiration, I just kind of whisper things. I was like, that's kind of a cool way to take Ares, in that he's just kind of setting up the stage for World War I. I was like, that's pretty cool. That's a cool way to do it, but once again, it kind of falls in this big CGI fest, and then MacGuffin powers activate. And that's how there's still, like, not a lot of development, and I think a lot of the charm from Ares came from the actor, who I've seen in the Harry Potter films. The word got away from me. I think he was Sirius Black. I don't watch I'm not a big Harry Potter fan, but I've seen that. I've seen Prisoner of Azkaban, and I was like, is that Sirius Black? I think it is. Could be wrong. I could be wrong. Anywho, so the Ares fight was kind of like, I didn't feel a lot there, but I did like the angle of making Ares like this big foreboding villain, but still I feel like there should have been a little more development with Ares. Same with Dr. Poison, she was this kind of their villain. And Danny Houston's character was just there to be the other villain. So we had 3 villains in here, not really a lot of them developed. But they all I still feel like there was a lot of interconnection there with the villains. I feel like, because they're all kind of these machinations from Ares. So, I'll give it that. The final battle, though, is a lot of fun. It's not like, but it feels a lot more well-deserved than the Doomsday fight in Batman v Superman, where this one is like, this is what Diana's been prepping for. It's not just kind of thrown out of nowhere at the last second for some hammered reason other than, let's just have them fight. So it feels more well deserved. The final fight with Ares and Diana feels very much well deserved, in my opinion. The slow-mo in the fights kind of got a little ridiculous, but I forgave it because they used it in a way that they could do these kind of cool angles. They kind of do these slow-mo shots in these cool angle shots, so I was more forgiving of the slow-mo in that you could see all these cool angles in slow motion, just so you could show, oh wow, that's how it moved. That's how they're moving in this fight. Especially the fight between the Amazons and the German infantry. That was actually kind of kick-ass. That was actually a pretty kick-ass opening fight sequence, really. There was and also the romance between Steven and Diana is actually well thought out. It's one of the I think it's one of the best one of keep in mind one of the best romances I've seen in a comic book film. It's very well deserved. I think Gal Gadot and Chris Pine really play off each other very well in this film, and you can honestly buy the romance. I was like, yeah, it was well. I feel like it was well deserved, and you get really much a lot of Steve Trevor. Like I said, he can be jokey, but at the same time, it feels more like a defense mechanism in that he's trying to deal with all this shit because he's seen all the terrible things mankind can do, and that's all done without a god's influence. Yeah, it's I thought that was pretty cool. Etta Candy was a lot of fun. She could have been an annoying character. Thankfully, they use her sparingly and just when the time is right. So, yeah, Etta Candy was pretty good. The other characters, Steve's crew, I guess you could call them, they're a lot of fun and actually a lot more well developed than the Howling Commandos. Not to say I didn't like Captain America: The First Avenger, but you gotta admit the Howling Commandos just kind of show up. There's no real development for them, and they're just kind of there. In here, it's a smaller group, and I think that was kind of the problem was that the Howling Commandos is a huge group. In here, it's just Diana, Steve, and three other guys, and a lot of them get a lot of cool moments of character development between them. And I was like, these guys are really fun. And you root for the whole team, especially that opening sequence, that opening fight of Diana just fighting her way across the trenches. That was a lot of fun. And like I said, this is very much a fish out of water situation. At its core, this is a fish out of water type film. And Diana, you see it from her perspective in that, she's not naive. She's not being stupid about this. But in the same sense, she has to be hopeful because, yeah, I'm here to protect mankind, and that's what I'm going to do. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you. You actually got Diana. It would make sense that, and also at the same time with the fish out of water stuff, it would make sense for someone who's been raised to believe, mankind just needs our help, and, everything's going to be fine when Ares is dead. Yeah, it would make sense that she would be have that kind of mindset of why are they all being shitty to one another. It makes a lot of sense. This is going to sound really weird, but while I was watching this film and how Patty Jenkins was directing Gal Gadot to be that kind of innocent and naive, yet strong and naive character for Diana, this is going to sound really weird even when I'm thinking it. I kind of want to see, I want to see Patty Jenkins direct the live-action Little Mermaid. Just how she handled that, I was like, man, I'd love to see her take on a live-action Ariel. Yeah, I kind of want to see Patty Jenkins direct whenever they get around to the Little Mermaid, and I know there's been a lot of talk of it, but yeah, I kind of want to see her direct the Little Mermaid movie. Just imagine, from the director of Wonder Woman, The Little Mermaid. Tell me you wouldn't want to see that. Especially how they would do Ursula. Yeah. This was such a good film. Is there little flaws? Yes, but this kind of falls in the pitfalls of all the other films. I'm not saying this is a bad film. This is a really good film. This is one of my favorite films of the year. Let me state that again. One of my favorite films of the year. So far, keep in mind, this is only the 8th film I've seen this year, so, we've still got a way to go, but still, as it stands, this is one of my favorite films of the year. I really do love it. The stuff with Ares, I can understand where they're going with it, but the third act kind of goes the route of all superhero films with big cinematic climactic battle, but it's still a good, having said all that, all the stuff with Diana and Steve, and all the stuff pertaining to their views on the war and mankind, it's all beautiful. It is all amazing, and it gives me hope for the future of the DC films. Yeah. So like I said, good job, DC. You're now 1-3. So hopefully you can keep that track record. But yeah, so you guys tell me, what did you guys think of Wonder Woman? Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? What did you guys think of Ares? And also, I'm really curious to know, what kind of villains do you want to see in Wonder Woman 2? Because we're probably going to get that. Me personally, I'd like to see Cersei, Cheetah. Cersei and Cheetah would probably be going hand in hand. I know they'd probably mix the origins together, keep in mind. But I'd personally like to see Cersei in the next film. Anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.